of taking us forward to become a logistic hub?
We all talk today in terms of a maritime silk route. There was never a maritime silk route. There was a land route, which is a silk route. Then how did trade go on with China? There were different segments. It came into Sri Lanka from the Arabia, where the goods transported by land from Europe or Arabian goods or African goods, it came to Sri Lanka and to some of the southern Indian ports. From there, it was basically, there were two ways. One was it went across to the Indochina and then went across the Gulf of Siam. The other, of course, was that there was direct sailing from Sri Lanka to China and back, which are dominated by the Malay and the Sri Lankan sailors. All these wars that we are talking with the South Indian kingdoms was to control the Bay of Bengal Strait. The old Anuradhapura kingdom did that with the Pallava kingdom. Then they got in the Pandyans and the Srivijaya, and the Cholas then tried to take everything over. So we have been a hub historically. That's why the Portuguese came here, that's why the Dutch came here, that's why the British came here, that's why everyone else is looking at us. Now, both strategically and economically, we are hub, we must develop that. To develop that, we should be open. You can't have a closed economy. It must be open. That's why I said take the Bay of Bengal, take China, and remember all the oil that will come in from, go from the Middle East. The bulk of that trade will now go through here to East Asia. What about the other shipments? So while we are thinking of developing a logistic hub, we must also have the ability, security-wise, at least to protect the area around us and the main channels. So that it's all tied up. But all goes, but all are dependent on having a strong competitive economy. We are, as I've been telling earlier, we are a platform for value addition, competitive value addition. Yes, and if you are a logistic hub, you can also be you can be used for financing. But I don't use the word hub because we have been talking of 5 hubs, and all we had was a vehicle that was running on its rim.
Table number 9, we have a question.
Honorable Prime Minister, my name is Rohan Masakorala. I have a question related to what Asanka asked. 2 questions. One is, as he talked about the logistics hub and a shipping hub, our country has not liberalized shipping. Shipping is not a liberalized industry. It's a controlled industry. Logistics is a controlled industry, and a lot of my colleagues in the industry don't want it liberalized. Singapore is liberalized, India is liberalized. How can we be a shipping hub if we are not liberalized? That's question number 1. Second, sir, it's a different one. What's the status of SEPA and FTA with China?
There's a problem. Your colleagues don't want it liberalized. When you liberalize the factor market, our opposition will not come from the ordinary people, but from groups of the private sector. We have to liberalize, certainly. We have to look at more trade and investment with India and with China. In India, really, I think Sri Lanka, South India are complementary, and we have to find ways of working together. We can't be frightened. We can't be running away. We threw away the GSP Plus. When I was Prime Minister, we had $3 billion of export, and Bangladesh had 5. When I returned to the Prime Ministership, they have about 25 billion, and I think we must be about 5.5 billion now. So that's one instance. We could have gone into India with the first, we didn't take it. So we lost a lot. But it comes down to the original issue that you have. Is the private sector prepared to support these reforms? That's an open issue. By the way, I've decided to bring in Razin Sali as chairman of the Policy Studies Institution so that we can have a fresh look at what we are going to do. Some of you will say, oh, no, not another Singaporean. No, he's not a Singaporean. He's a British citizen.
Dr. Razin Saleh is teaching at the National University of Singapore. For your information again. Questions? We have a question from that table over there. SIPA and relations with China. FTA China. Good question. I just want to add to that, Mr. Prime Minister. Are we ignoring China and getting closer to the West?
Firstly, no, we are looking at how we have a good trade and investment relationship and agreement with India. Whether you want to call it SIPA, whether you want to call it any other name, we have to. But we have some issues to negotiate from our end. Our concern has been the non-tariff barriers in India, and there are some sensitive areas like the professions. There may be some other enterprises which want some time to adjust. But it is flexible, and I think Indians are flexible, so we certainly are looking at very strong economic ties with India, and there should be integration within the whole Bay of Bengal. The Chinese, we are certainly pursuing the FTA, and we have not in any way ignored China. We are only re-establishing our relations with the West. After all, we were key players. We have been. You have to remember that in World War II, there were only 3 nations that were out there which supported the allies. One was China, one was Mongolia, other was Sri Lanka. And we have been building on that. Our close ties to the West have gone back for thousands or 1,000 years or more. And we have had the most European influence there. So we can, as far as I'm concerned, we are not in any way downgraded China. We are dealing with the Chinese government, and we are following the Chinese government in fighting corruption. They fought corruption. We are fighting corruption. Nevertheless, we want the Chinese projects here to go ahead. We are looking at like other projects, Indian or others, where there has been any element of corruption. But as I said, we have to be an open society, an open economy. The Sri Lanka's greatness was the fact that we could trade with the world. We have a song which talks of Parakum Yuga. What is Parakum Yuga? Parakum Yuga is one of the peak eras of Sri Lanka, when we were trading with the world, and also at the same time, which certainly we should not follow, were taking on various other kingdoms in the Bay of Bengal, which are a hindrance to our trade. But remember, Parakum Yuga is an open economy and an open trading system. And it was under Parakram Bahu that we not only emphasized on paddy and grains, but we also started emphasizing on spices in the southwestern part of Sri Lanka.
Issuing a statement yesterday, Prime Minister, Czech Port City Colombo said that the government is yet to speak to them with regard to Czech Port City Colombo. Czech Port City Colombo, the Chinese company which is entrusted with the Port City Colombo project, said that the government is yet to consult them with regard to the future course of action. What is the current status? The project will go ahead?
They have been speaking out so loud, I thought they had forgotten us. No, we have asked the task force headed by Mr. Ajita Di Costa to get at a list of all the violations formally from the institutions, and the AG will be drafting a letter which we will send to them outlining all the violations, and we want to start discussions to sort it out. That's why we allow the retaining walls to be built, so that there will be no damage to what has been done so far. And the discussion is started, but my hunch is it will be after the 19th or 20th, when everyone has enjoyed their holidays.
After the April holidays. Yeah. Elections after that, Prime Minister. So there you go. One more question. The Prime Minister speaks, an interactive dialogue. We have a question. Yes, go ahead, gentlemen.
My name is Mukesh Advani. This question is for the Minister for UDA, Honorable Rauf Hakim. There is a Supreme Court order in place dated about 4 years ago for the payments to be made to the bona fide owners of the water's edge. Would you be able to advise us as to when these funds could be paid to the bona fide owners or the land given back?
Now, this is a matter that we will have a discussion with these owners shortly to sort this matter out.
The Prime Minister has an answer for that as well. That was the Minister of Urban Development.
The Minister will discuss with the owners, and then we will find the funds to pay for it. And we have a plan as to how we are going to raise the funds.
Right then, one more question. Neela, yes, go ahead.
I have another question for the Minister of Urban Development. There is a law in effect that, and I'm currently in this situation, where land has been acquired and there is no recourse for a landowner. This land, it's a draconian piece of legislation, and I was wondering whether the UDA would be re-looking at these laws. Thank you.
Yes, the UDA itself, the act which was enacted by a previous UNP regime, subsequently a few changes have been made to its rules and regulations. When it comes to public grievances, certainly some of these provisions needs to be reviewed. So this is something that I had to refer the matter to Cabinet. After proper examination of these laws, we will certainly find a way to give a window of opportunity for those who have had grievances. Already, as for matters that have happened in and around Colombo, we have set up a committee with Cabinet approval to look at their grievances. You can, I think there is about a week time left to send in your grievances. If you can direct it to them, we can perhaps address them.
Thank you very much, Minister Hakim. We invite the members of the AmCham to remain in your seats. The Prime Minister will be going table to table, accompanied with the President of AmCham, Asanga. So please do remain in your seats after the end of the session. The business community undoubtedly has a major role to play in the country. I saw this quote this morning. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who watch them without doing anything. It's time to act and time to move forward. Having said that, I want to also leave you this afternoon with a quote by Ronald Reagan. Government's view of the economy could be summed up in a few short phrases. A. If it moves, tax it. If it keeps moving, regulate it. And if it stops moving, subsidize it. Let's hope for the best. Ladies and gentlemen, for the vote of thanks, I would like to warmly welcome Radhika Besekar, Executive Director of AmCham.
I'm delighted to be delivering the vote of thanks at what has turned out to be a landmark event for the American Chamber of Commerce. Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, State and Deputy Ministers, Excellencies of the respective embassies being represented here today, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Prime Minister, I thank you for being here and for so readily accepting our invitation to address the AmCham membership. The fact that you're here today, along with the other members of your government, reflects the fact that you have acknowledged the importance of the private sector and, moreover, the importance of the private sector as a driver of economic growth. The business community, including business chambers such as AmCham, seek direction relating to the future of our country. We seek clear and consistent policies in our role as facilitators of investment between Sri Lanka and the international business community in achieving the goals that you have set out. You have come, you have seen, and you have heard from the creme of the business community. We hope you will continue to engage with us in formulating and implementing the policies relating to doing business in Sri Lanka. My thanks to the loyal AmCham members who have taken time to be here and for supporting the event with your participation. The success of all our events depend on you. My thanks to the MTV MBC network and your unstinted support in making all our events the success that it is. Thank you, Shamir, for so excellently moderating this session and for keeping everyone on their toes. A very special thank you to the AmCham Board of Directors who supported in numerous ways in making this event a success. A very special thank you to Mr. Nimal Cook. Without you, today would not have happened. Also, a very special thank you to Mr. Vijay Ratnayaka, past president of AmCham, who supported this event and gave of his valuable time in achieving levels of excellence that few of us could. Last but not least, to Lakmini and Nireksha and the team at the Hilton Colombo Residences, thank you for accommodating our numerous requests. And of course, my team at AmCham, thank you.
I think so. That part is being done by.
Welcome to the Prime Minister Speaks.